Good afternoon, everyone. Impact Environmental Education is a consultancy based in Port Macquarie on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. We deliver and design sustainability education that goes into primary schools, and we work with community groups as well. We're currently also developing our first preschools program and working with a local preschool to make that happen. Today I'll cover just some of the aspects that I consider key in terms of delivering meaningful and effective waste and sustainability education that impacts communities. So just a little bit about our primary schools program. Our schools work now consists of 6 different modules, which are up on the screen, each focusing on a different waste or sustainability topic. These modules have been born out of discussion with our original partner council, Port Macquarie Hastings Council, and with feedback from teachers year after year. They have the ability to be tailored to other LGAs, and we have just done that with a job out with Dubbo Regional Council, Mid Western Regional Council and Narromine Shire Council. So each module has activities that are stage appropriate from kindergarten through to year 6. So, for example, all packaged out, we've been talking about packaging this afternoon, so I'll talk about that one. So all packaged out, where we're working with a kindergarten class, we might be just focusing on something as simple as the lunchbox and something that they can relate to, and talking about the packaging items within that lunchbox and whether they're recyclable or not, and if they are, where they need to go, and if they're not, where they need to go also. So with the stage 1 class, that's early stage 1, kindergarten or years 1 and 2 in New South Wales, that might be the extent of it. And we will do activities that are all surrounding that, but that's basically the message we're trying to get across. Whereas with the stage 3 class, where you're talking with years 5 and 6, we might do an activity where the students are given a single-use plastic item, such as a coffee pod or a straw, and asked to workshop together how we can avoid that waste. What can we do about that? So we're still getting the message across that we need to avoid this waste or reduce this waste, but we're doing it in a different activity that's age appropriate for those kids. With Everything Organic, it's our module essentially about organic recycling. We would use systems thinking activities to engage the students. So again, with younger classes, we're looking at basic energy cycling within nature and comparing that with what we need to do with our waste in terms of a human construct. And then if we're working with older students, we might look at a similar activity, except we're talking about more global issues and what do we need to do as a society and as a global community in order to reduce our waste and lessen our impact on the environment. So, key to our program is just having fun. So, of course, it's very important to have your overt instruction with your education. So we have some information that we need to impart to the students. For example, this is what belongs in this bin, or what can happen to litter if it ends up in the environment. So we might have some information that we really have to get across to the children. That's very important. However, what we always try and do is ensure that the kids are actually going to have fun with it. So we might have a period where the educator will give some information, and then we'll have an activity that the kids can be creative with. They can make decisions, they can talk with one another, they can act, they can do a bit of drama. I'll just explain a few of these ones here. So that top left picture, that's about the kindergarten and year 1s and 2s working out what people need and where we get what we need from, so that basic understanding of resources, and that we have to look after resources. If we can't look after our resources, we're not going to be in a very healthy place. So down here is stage 3. This is kind of like a game about climate change and about global warming, and how what does it look like when we have limited resources. So it's a little bit like the kids' game musical chairs, where they lose some space it's a game to get that idea across, and they absolutely love it. I've got photos of this group a bit further on where they're all falling all over the place. This kid up the top, he's got the director's cap on, and that was a drama in our module called Better Not Litter, which was a module we developed last year. He's actually directing some other kids who've done a drama that was about littering, and he's choosing the moment where the person has to make a different choice to change their behaviour so that litter doesn't end up in the environment. And you can tell the other kids are totally focused on what he's telling the actors to do. That's also Better Not Litter up in that corner. And here we've got one of our educators acting out the recycling loop for aluminium there. The kids are all being cans, and they're getting crushed down and melted and turned into a new product. So we do relays and those normal kinds of waste activities that you see, but we also do a lot of drama. The next point I want to make is about having authentic resources. And lately, in the last couple of years, I've really gotten onto this idea of using the voices of children. I think the voice of a child is a really powerful thing, and we use voiceovers or videos that assist in educating the other children. So on those three images up there, the one on the left comes from a clip on YouTube called Climate Change According to a Kid. You might have seen that one. It's great to watch if you haven't. In the middle here we have Molly Steers. She's the Straw No More girl who campaigned in Cairnsshire to get rid of straws. So we showcase these in our modules so that students can know that they can make a difference. This is a local girl in Port Macquarie, Charlize. She's campaigned against fishing waste litter in our LGA, and so and she has a fishing waste stall at the local market where she kind of educates people about the dangers of fishing waste. So we like to use these voices of children for role modelling, but also just to encourage students to be active citizens and to respect their environment, and even to change the status quo. We also try we've been striving more and more as the years have gone by to include as much local content as we possibly can. So examples such as Charlize, but we've also worked with our local council, Port Macquarie Hastings Council. They have a campaign about the Hastings family who are up there in the top right corner. The dad's kind of like this goofy guy who doesn't know which bin to put things in, and they've been running with that campaign, so we include that within our modules as well. So we're kind of making sure that when we're working in a council area, we're really helping to get the messages across that are important for that LGA at that point in time. I've just included a picture there of a landfill, so that's Mudgee. So because we're out in Mid-Western Regional Council at the moment, we're obviously using images from that council area within the education modules themselves that are being taught out there, because obviously the kids can relate to their truck, they can relate to their landfill and their landscape as well. I think using local images, it creates a sense of ownership. This is our waste, this is our landfill, this is our responsibility. And the evaluation shows that teachers also find the local content valuable for continuing that learning in the classroom. Where possible, we use and refer teachers to Australian content online, and we use books by Australian authors. I just want to make a little point here about experienced teachers delivering education. I think what happens between a good teacher, a good experienced teacher and students is a dialogue, and that's how we look at our workshops. So it's not someone coming in and going blah, 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 you should put this in this bin and you should put that in that bin. It's more what's happening in your life with your waste, getting that feel for what's going on in the community, and then working with that in the classroom. So that's the way we approach it. We draw out ideas, we encourage students to question, we challenge students as well as gathering information about the community and attitudes and waste practices in that community. This information is captured and included in our stakeholder report that goes to the LGA that we're working in. I think teachers also respect when a fellow teacher is delivering a message rather than someone who isn't trained in education. And we do provide links to New South Wales curriculum so that teachers can link what they're doing or what they're seeing in our workshop with what they're doing in the classroom. Now just a little bit about evaluation. Critical reflection and improvement is central to any effective education program. In 2018, we managed an 80% completion rate of our teacher evaluation. So after every workshop, and their workshops are usually about 1 hour, depending on the age of the kids, we asked teachers to complete a short evaluation just on SurveyMonkey. We were getting 80%, and I was pretty happy with that. That's not too bad, but I really wanted to get as much as we possibly can. And so now what we've done is we've gone over to the iPad. And so when the educator's in the classroom, towards the end of the session, the educator can just hand the iPad to the teacher. The survey's already open. It's only 12 questions long, and they can quickly, or they can take as long as they like, but complete that education. And so far, we've got 100% completion rate from that. And that's important because we want this data to know where we go next. As mentioned, Impact Environmental Education work with our LGAs to prepare the modules which are relevant to them. So in Port Macquarie Hastings Council in 2018, we were discussing what module we might develop for this year. And this is a graph of 92 teachers from the evaluations from 2018 had completed about what they might like next year's topic to be about. And I was really interested when I first saw the survey results as to what that other was, because it's like, oh my goodness, look at all these things to choose from and they've put other, what have they put? And I went into the answer and they just wrote sustainability. And I thought to myself, right, that's interesting because all of these things are about sustainability, but that teacher wants just sustainability because I think the reasoning being that teachers now have to teach to the Australian curriculum and include your cross-curricular priorities, and one of those is about sustainability. And I don't feel that a lot of teachers are not equipped to do that. They don't feel equipped to do that. So if we can come in and provide that education, that's good for them. And so hence, when we discussed it with Council, we've decided that our next module for this year is simply sustainability. Obviously, sustainability encompasses a lot. So the way we will probably approach this, or we are approaching this module that will be delivered in term 3, is through looking at the home and what can you do in terms of sustainability in your home for the younger kids, and then moving up through to what could schools do, what could individuals do, and focusing on things such as choosing something such as fast fashion and really doing a focus on one of those areas and moving on. Okay, so how do we know that what we do makes a difference? And this comes from the evaluations that I have previously mentioned. We do have anecdotal evidence, so like we'll go into a school one day and then the next day the teacher will say, oh, my son couldn't stop talking about waste at home. And so we know what we do is effective and it's making a difference. But it's good also to get that data from the source of the teacher. So we've got a few comments. The first 3 are just about what they thought of the session, but where it gets interesting is this year I've included a question about, did you learn something yourself from the workshop? And I've had something like 80% of teachers say yes. And some of the things that have come out of that have been really insightful for me. So if we can look to, I don't have a green bin at home, so I thought it was only for fruit and vegetable scraps. Very informative for me. I learnt it is illegal to burn rubbish on farms. I learnt about the difference between climate change and the ozone layer. We're talking about a primary school teacher here, and she doesn't know the difference between the ozone layer, the problem with the ozone layer, and climate change. I mean, to me, this highlights another reason why schools education is really a powerful tool, because we are educating we're training the trainer, and essentially if we can get that educator understanding more about the position that we're in terms of waste, in terms of climate change, then that's going to be a powerful thing for educating the community in the long run. And students. So for a few years I've been trying to get teachers to get their students to evaluate the session, which is a bit hard because you kind of got to get a class to all sit at a computer and do a little survey, and they need to be able to spell enough for us to be able to read it. But here's some of I got a couple done last year, which ended up about 120 students completed an evaluation of what they thought of the session and what had happened in their home as a result of the session. So it's really valuable data for me. But I think some of these, what I like to see is that the actions, the students have gone home and they've actually done something about what they've learned, or they've told someone. I like the videos, and because I learned way more than I already did, and I told my parents, and now I use less wrapping food. So, the session has made an impact on that kid, and his or she is really thinking about what's in their lunchbox. So, down to my last page, and that is, what are we learning? So obviously we're trying to reflect all the time on what we're doing. That's what good educators do. And just some of the themes that I guess have come out for me recently are that enjoyable education sticks. So the kids and the teachers, when they say what was the highlight of the workshop, very often it will be that interactive component, whatever it was that they did that was interactive, where they got up and they moved around or they acted out something or other. That's what they remember, so that has to be spot on. Teachers want and need sustainability education, and schools education presents an excellent opportunity for this. Including local content rather than generic content keeps stakeholders satisfied and goes a long way in motivating students to care. So if they're looking at a picture on the screen of their town as opposed to somebody else's town, I think that's quite powerful in terms of a motivator. And obviously it's pretty obvious that critical reflection and evaluation is key to effective education that impacts the community. And that's it for me.